guys? Welcome back to the Insurance Nerds Attachment Point News Roundtable. I got, one of my oldest, InsurTech Twitter buddies on here, LinkedIn buddies, Dmytro Nalyvaiko with AXON. We've talked insurance projects, we've talked web development. He's coming from across the world to Ukraine, so it's about 7:30 here, like 5:30 your time.
Yeah, you're right.
That's not too bad. That's a pretty easy one,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's so funny how the geos sort of play into the international work a little bit, and time zones, who's easy to connect with. And I know a lot of people worked with web developers out of Ukraine for a number of years, and had a great experience. But yeah, thanks for coming on and sharing some time with me today.
Yeah, but thank you for hosting me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the remote work, I would like to mention that during the last few years, the situation drastically changed, and most companies and people now like to work remotely and don't want to go to the offices, actually.
Yeah, it is very interesting. We're in the middle of those battles right now in the States. Like Walt Disney just was like, hey, you got to come back 4 days a week. Other people are doing it. I like the hybrid concept, I think. There's something to in person, but I know plenty of lights out companies like Marble, who I help out with out of New York, for instance, has been remote since the beginning. And they do such a cool thing. They don't overload on meetings. They have really cool check-ins, products, progress, status reports are kind of automated, especially if you're coming from like a programming kind of web development side of the world. I think everyone knows how to kind of organize their time and, execute, which seems like the most important thing.
Yeah, actually, we also follow this hybrid model, and our people can decide by themselves when they want to go to the office to meet with their colleagues to for some strategic sessions, for instance, or when they want to deliver the final version of the product together and fix code fix bugs in one place. So yeah, it's really helpful to have a place where we can meet with others to discuss some things in person.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the way Dmytro and I got connected, we were friends just joking around on Twitter. And InsurTech Twitter is such a funny, cool international thing. Shout out to my buddy Nigel Walsh, got me connected with all the runners and everybody out of the UK. But yeah, we had a project. The lead who had an idea on the project wasn't a web developer, and we needed to reach out to some great people. So I reached out to one company just below the border here, and then I reached out to your company, Ukraine, and you guys penciled everything out perfectly. We had budgets, we had timelines. Unfortunately, we didn't run forward on that one, but it was a really cool professional and development experience just to talk with your team. I felt like gave me a bunch of insights. And we promise we still shelved that project. We haven't ran with it anywhere else. But no, it was enlightening just to talk to your team about how it could go.
Thank you for the good words about our work. Actually, we always try to do our best with all projects in all industries. So
yeah, so no, insurance is a big one for your folks. I know property tech. Were there a few other verticals that we could circle back to insurance because we got to take care of our crew?
Yes. One of the industries that we are focusing on is insurance. We had two big projects in this domain. One of that it's mobile app for claims company from the United States, FileTrac. So they provided adjusters with the platform where they can report claims, but their platform was just for web usage, and they wanted to provide field adjusters with their solution. So they asked us to develop them a mobile application, and we developed it. So through this application, adjusters could report claims from whenever they were.
That's
and
awesome.
Also had access to the history of this client, insurance history, etc. So yeah. And the second project, it's for Danish insurance company. It's like customer portal for self-serving.
Oh, cool.
The name of the company is under NDA, but I can share that through this application, their customers could and can order different insurance policies, follow payment history, and also insurer sends them notifications about the following payments.
Cool.
And also they are going to build all claims reporting system. So when their customers, their clients will be able to report claims.
That's awesome. I think timing is so big on claims, and just having that kind of in real time ability to give feedback,
Hmm.
data, what's going on, what you're seeing. I think in terms of the claims processor or manager, that's really powerful, because if it's been a lot of time, that's going to affect your ability to make a claim. And I
Yeah,
know,
and
yeah.
yeah, it's especially with car
Hmm.
insurance.
Hmm.
When you have a car accident and in the middle of nowhere, for instance,
Yeah.
you won't be able to wait for the adjuster, for instance, and you will need to report this claim right away. And it would be great to have an application, for
Hmm.
instance, and this application will help you to take photos of your car. I mean, this application will suggest you what place to you should take a photo, for
Well,
instance.
that's cool. No, like in real time sort of claims management. It's so funny. So we're talking Ukraine, we're talking US, you're talking Poland. It's the same things everywhere. Client
Hmm.
facing apps, um, making a mobile app so it's not just a web version that's really clunky on a phone. We all have similar needs. And I wonder, even with the claims app in Poland, if they're having a hard time recruiting younger people to insurance. I know the States,
Yeah.
talk about a brain drain, people are similar everywhere. No one's excited to get insurance. It's a happy accident. Although you mentioned doing a PhD in property insurance, which was really cool. So it sounds like you caught the bug and found insurance pretty interesting. Yeah.
Yes, I got PhD in insurance 4 years ago, and my thesis were about property insurance in Ukraine and how to improve it. And during the research, I found a lot of ways how to improve it. Some of them are actually our government working on that,
Cool.
but our carriers need to decide together what they will do further, and um, how to integrate their knowledge about different properties with each other to create the history of the property, for
Yeah.
instance.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So something we might take for granted, in the States, the home almost has its own like loss record, and the policy ties to
Hmm.
the address, as opposed to like, oh, new home, new policy, like you would with an
Hmm.
automobile. That's pretty interesting. So you're saying the information somewhat siloed, and they need to share loss
Yes,
reports. They need
yes.
to sort of be open to each other to help each other do better. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really beneficial for the market and for the customers as well, because in this case, it will be more like, how to say, so it will be more like, I don't know how to say in English, but when all clients will pay according to their history, to their
Yeah.
loss history.
No,
So,
it makes it
and
more like equitable, maybe could be a
yes,
word,
yeah,
more
yeah.
fair. And probably more competitive, because if you don't have accurate data, you have to be more conservative and you have to
Hmm.
hedge stronger. Um, no, that totally makes sense to me. Insurance to me just seems like communication. Like, we have X, we need X covered for potential events. This is what it does. So I feel like data transparency just helps everybody win, because the whole point is just to keep things moving, to kind of make sure we can get back to, what makes sense. So I got to give you a shout out too. It was so funny. Like, we talked about one project, and I'm always forever like doing too many things. The funniest follow-up was just the Adele hello. I think you sent that one time. Like, we were messaging, I went kind of quiet. You just sent me the Adele hello gif. That was hilarious. And then the other one, when I went look quiet again, where out on the video was just Mr. Bean sitting in the field with like a poppy. Just like, they were such good, like, from a
Yeah,
salesman to salesman. It was such a good, gentle, like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Humor works in sales,
Oh,
and
totally.
I always looking for funny ways for follow-ups and
Yeah,
or include some interesting information to my cold emails, because there are, I mean, people are overwhelmed with
yeah.
information, with messages, etc. So you need to distinguish yourself from others.
And this is hard. Obviously I don't want to make
Yeah.
light of anything right now. my dad forever ago, it was either him or Dale Carnegie. And it's funny to mix up the two because I sold with him for 6 years, read, how to win friends and influence people so early.
Mhm.
But people like working with happy, successful people. And that doesn't mean you always have to be in a perfect place, but sometimes it's funny, like you have to take a nap, sometimes you have to try to walk around in the sunshine for a minute. Sometimes you have to get yourself back because, in sales, you're that first person out there. You're that point of contact. You are the relationship manager between your entity that wants
Yeah.
something to do and something to build and something to deploy, and this other, usually, like we were saying, when I was slow to follow up, this sort of slow thing that you have to initiate some sort of activity and change on. So you're that kind of happy go-between,
Mhm.
yeah. So
So salesperson is like a connector and
mhm.
activator.
Yep. Connector, activator. I was actually just speaking with some technical friends about this. There's something so weird about like the locker room of sales or the mindset of sales. It's not like
Mhm.
most task-oriented jobs where you can just be like, go execute harder, go do more, bring more back. There's a
Make more
psychology
calls.
to it. Yeah, I mean, you can, but I don't know. It's so weird. Like it's such a weird X factor. There go my office mate who's making noise a minute.
Nice, cute.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. Uh,
What's the name?
Indy, like Indiana Jones. Yeah, there you go. We'll tilt
Nice.
the camera a little more so there'll be a little better view. We can get a little big
Nice.
for that basket. Um, how's it been? So, you know, I got lucky to help a Canadian startup come to the US called Fineo, and we're still,
Mhm.
working on a few things. It was very interesting, and ahead of time, I don't think I realized sort of my myopicness. The states are so crazy. Um, how is it selling into Poland, selling into potentially France or Spain, the US? Like, I think of different people groups. I think of different neighborhoods in greater Los Angeles having different environments.
Mhm.
Is it more similar than different? Or when you're selling from one country to many countries, is it, are there different rules of thumb you have to follow or somewhere in the middle, if that makes sense?
Um, there are some minor differences between countries, but the general approach is pretty the same.
Yeah.
For instance, when I started to work with the Nordic market, I started to contact Ukrainians that went there before and started to
Mm-hmm.
build like friend relationships with them. So they and later they started to recommend me to their friends and acquaintances or colleagues. So it was like an initial point to start working with that market.
That's really smart.
Also, yeah, also I'm looking for different organizations that are
Mm.
business organizations. They are strive to connect businesses from different domains or from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
And in this way, I found Norwegian Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce.
That's
This
cool.
Chamber of Commerce sometimes organizes meetings between Norwegian businesses and Ukrainian companies. So they helped us to find two of our biggest clients, for instance.
That's awesome. Um, I
But in
gotta,
general,
yeah.
it's hard to it's harder to be to sell from one country to
Oh,
another
I,
country
I respect it. Yeah, I guarantee it's hard. Yeah.
because people like to meet in person to feel each other, so to understand the person, to understand their business, and yeah.
It's
But
a it's pretty cool to
COVID
hear. Or like the
actually
chambers are
COVID
helpful.
changes.
My
Yeah,
chamber award from the LA area Chamber of Commerce. I was like the ambassador of
uh-huh.
the year, but the chambers are sneaky, like still helpful, still well intentioned. They're global. And I apologize. I think you're going into how COVID sort of made remote more
Yes,
digestible.
yeah. But now people all switch to in-person events again. So we are thick of these online meetings, and we prefer to go to the conference offline, and where we can meet potential partners and clients.
Mhm. And we were talking ahead of time because obviously it's a sensitive conversation, everything going on in Ukraine. We're talking business today, we're talking
Mhm.
insurance. Um, but you talked about how your company has now expanded and you have people in Georgia, Poland, Estonia. And then I was going to make the joke that you have people in Florida now. I was gonna be like, that's really cool. You got to Florida. Next, you can come to the US. But that's just a little.
Yeah, AXON started as a Ukrainian company 9 years ago. We started as a Ukrainian company, but 2 years ago we decided to become international. So we opened an office in Georgia, Batumi and Tbilisi, in Estonia. We have legal entity in the United States, in Florida, and this year we're going to hire people there. And also this last year we opened our office in Poland. So
very cool.
Currently we're an international company.
That's awesome. I think that's so interesting, and it just makes sense. It's really cool. Like I'm jealous of the way you can work cross borders and have those sort of international relationships. It's very unique and interesting. And I do think insurance lends itself to like knowledge share. This is gonna be an oversimplification, but I feel like when you go to Lloyd's in London, it's very deep, it's all historic, it's relationships. When you go to Asia, Southeast Asia, because of the mass and scale, it's very tech driven. Israel actually seems kind of functionally in the middle, or a little bit of both, which is cool. So, you're seeing best practices. As a guy who got a PhD and studied property insurance, like the nerdy side of you has got to appreciate seeing how people do things in different geos and meet different challenges. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So insurance is different in different parts of the world, but in general, it's all about numbers. It's all about numbers and statistic.
It's kind of funny how numbers are like the international language, like
yeah,
they don't change. It's really cool, but if you don't mind too, I know kind of held you, for a little bit right now, but any other kind of examples or types of projects if people are thinking about different, business processes they need to execute, or how does your team sort of drop in? I know sometimes you may have a whole web organization going, and then you might grab a team like yours to complement, say, hey, we've never been able to spin this web service into an app. Hey guys, can you come in here and help us out with this? What are some other examples of how, companies have used Axon, in the recent past?
Sure. So we provide full cycle software development services, and we can build web and mobile projects from idea to delivery and production and further support. And when we start to work with the client, we usually assign product or business analysts to analyze clients' problems, clients' needs, their goals, what they want to build, describe everything in details. Then we assign solution architect and designer to work on architecture and also create wireframes to visualize what they want to build and approve all these visualizations with the client. Only after that we start the development. So we don't start the development right away. First of all, we need to define what actually the client want to build exactly to meet their expectations. Then we work based on Agile and Scrum methodology. So every 2 weeks we show the result of our work for the client. It's like demo session where our team presents the new version of their solution, and only after that the client paid. So our main rule is that clients paid when the work is done.
Cool. It's when I had my exploratory meeting with your team, it was really cool. It was me and 5 very professional folks. You could tell different parts of the trade, different parts of the company, and I appreciated you all taking the time to just flesh out an idea. And I could see that professionalism. And it's funny you talk about the 2-week web development cycles, different channels, because it's no different than working with Fineo, who's 3 hours away instead of 12, or whatever, or not even 12, but 10, I guess. So it's really cool. It's fun that the best practices have gone global and the best minds can, work together, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about what you've been up to as a company. As
for different time zones, we need just several hours per day to work with the client, but the rest of the time developers need to focus on their tasks. So it's not required to be for them full-time available for the client. So just several hours per day will be enough.
Yeah, that's nice too, because you want people to be living well and comfortable, just like Indy back there, you want them to be comfortable. There you go. But so any ways people should reach out to you? I know we're friends on Twitter, LinkedIn. I'll definitely have some contact info in the show notes as well.
I didn't get you.
Oh, sorry. Should people look up, is it axon.dev,
Yes,
AXON.dev, and then I'll put your email in the show notes too, so people can check in if they have projects or need
sure.
assistance. Yeah. But I
Feel
really
free
appreciate you
to
taking the
do
time
that.
today. And it's been so fun, just being connected across the world on, LinkedIn and Twitter, and, look forward to you guys growing over here in the States and,
Yeah,
learning from you from
I'm
other
happy we
countries too.
connected.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy we connected and keep our friendship.
Oh yeah, of course, of
This,
course. Yeah. No, more recordings to come, more conversations to come. Yeah,
I hope so.
cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.